when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, good morning and welcome to Tobago Updates morning show. I am your host, Renessa Ortiz, and you are viewing us live from the Port Mall. And you guys are seeing a different background this morning, and it is the week of International Women's Day. And we are here, we're going to be highlighting throughout this week so many women here on the island of Tobago in terms of business, and there are many different roles that they play in society. This year's theme for International Women's Day is Rights, Justice, Action for All Women and Girls, and it marks a moment to amplify our collective determination. I am joined in studio by Giselle Drew. Good morning, Giselle.
Good morning, Renessa, and how are you this morning? Good morning to Tobago, Trinidad, and the wider diaspora.
Now this week we're going to be having a lot of guest hosts on the show, and you're our first one. How are you feeling this morning to be a part of this momentous occasion?
Oh, I am excited to be a woman, excited to be alive, healthy, and excited to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here in studio with us. Now, viewers, before we go any further, we're going to head over to news in 90 seconds. We begin with a world on edge. Over the weekend, the US and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, a massive joint strike on Iran. President Trump confirmed the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, aiming for total regime change. Iran has already retaliated, striking US bases across the Gulf. Oil prices are spiking globally as the threat of a wider Middle East war looms. The Chief Secretary and the Finance Secretary held a press briefing yesterday. The update highlighted Tobago's historic CARICOM engagement and a new autonomy framework involving a People's Parliament. Key developments include the MV Blue Wave Harmony starting commercial sailings and a loan guarantee program covering 80% of business loans. Strategic focus remains on food security, infrastructure financing, and supporting registered local businesses via major banks. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has revealed the staggering cost of the Tobago radar. Speaking outside the Red House last week, she disclosed that the U.S. is spending $3 million daily to operate the high-tech system. She defended the continued presence of U.S. Marines at the A&R Robinson Airport, stating they are there to safeguard this multi-million-dollar American investment. Finally, the hunting season officially closed on February 28th, as turtle watching season began yesterday, March 1st. It closes on August 30th, and visitors are reminded that permits are strictly mandatory to visit leatherback nesting sites. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Now, Giselle, we are seeing so many things happening in the international space. We are seeing, we are still on the topic and conversation of the Prime Minister's address at the 50th Heads of State CARICOM meeting. What are some of your thoughts on these developments?
Well, I thought it was a quite interesting speech, seeing that we are heading into the International Women's Week. I thought it was she made some very bold points, and I think it would be nice for us to dissect, the pros, the cons, and what does this really mean for Trinidad and Tobago? What is our stance? How are we going to move going forward in terms of being a part of the CARICOM, in terms of, I know that Venezuela, they would have sent out a communique saying that, they thought it was a little bit out of line, some of the things that the Prime Minister would have mentioned. So it will be interesting to see, how this fleshes out going forward.
Yes, because we are a part of CARICOM, and I know initially when the entire situation with Venezuela and the tensions between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela and the US being a part of the entire situation, we know that the Prime Minister was distancing herself of sorts from the CARICOM. And I know in her address at the CARICOM meeting, she mentioned that she is still with CARICOM, but she wants them to respect the way that she chooses to go about the national security for her country, because what we are facing, a lot of the other CARICOM states aren't facing.
Yes, she did make that point, and I mean, I believe that to be a valid point. Where we are on the map is, we are further away from many of the other islands and the other members of the CARICOM. So I believe that she would have been, speaking from, her perspective as to how she deems it necessary to run Trinidad and Tobago.
And I think that is what any leader would have to do. They would have to look at the pros and cons of what it means to run their country and what their country would need at any given time, in spite of, as she said, whoever vexed lost.
Yes, she did. And we know that some of the comments coming from leaders like Mia Motley, we know that they were not necessarily on the positive side. So,
but again, in all of this, we have to look at regional diplomacy. We have to understand where each leader is coming from, and we all need to try as much as possible to be diplomatic in our relations, because at the end of the day, we would all need to rely on each other. We all go to Barbados or Jamaica for schooling. So we all need to be mindful, especially as the leaders, be mindful of the things that they are saying to ensure that we continue that regional integration that is so pertinent to our development as CARICOM states.
And you are so correct. And the relationship that, we have with Venezuela is one that, as the Prime Minister had said in the earlies, should remain on a positive path, based on deals that we would have been trying to, make in the past and make going forward, and just for peace.
Now, Giselle, we're going on to the part of the morning where we are celebrating those who are celebrating with us, as Akinabi loves to say. Viewers, we're heading into our birthday segment this morning. First up on the list, we have Sherelle Clark. Happy birthday to you. You're looking powerful in your red and starting off International Women's Week in fine style. We're hoping that you're having we hope you have a bright day today. You enjoy it and you spend it with those who love and cherish you, and that going forward in this year, all your dreams do come true. Up next, we have
Ifama Ramsey. Oh, another beautiful young lady. I love this black and white pic. Happy birthday to you. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we hope that all your wishes come true. Next on the list, we have Cindy Campbell. Oh, red is a power color. Excellent picture. Have a fantastic day. We hope that you get a chance to do all that you need to do. Duck the walk if you need to. I didn't say it. But have a fantastic day. And last on the list, we have none other than Mr. Neil Hercules. Happy belated birthday, Neil. We hope you had a fantastic time. We know you are one that loves to travel. Hopefully you are out of the country still enjoying all the birthday celebrations.
Thank you so much, Giselle. Now we're going to go into the rundown, viewers. We're going to show you we're going to talk to you about all the conversations we're going to be having this morning. First up on the lineup, we have Ashwood Jack. He's liaison coordinator, the Office of the Prime Minister. And we're going to be talking about the Prime Minister's opening speech at CARICOM. After that, we're going to have TTPS ASP Sharon Williams and its TTPS crime updates and road safety. And last but certainly not least, in keeping with the theme for International Women's Week, we have Crystal Phillips. She's an entrepreneur and author, and we're just going to be diving a bit into her life as a woman, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and what it means to be a woman. Now, viewers, we want you to stay tuned in here at Tobago Updates, but before we go to the break, I want you to remember to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. this is your show. More, live more.
Coming up, fets, pan, parades, soca. Yes, Carnival is in full swing. Artists from all over added their strokes to Antigua and Barbuda's canvas. A boost for these Barbadian projects through the power to make a difference. Equal servings of culture and good cheer. It's Caribbean Passport TV right here on this station.
TL Promotion presents Laugh and Live this Good Friday, 7 p.m. It's non-stop laughter at Birchwood Legacy Park, Lowland. Special guest from Jamaica, Mr. Funny himself, Owen Blacker Ellis. From Trinidad, Rising Comics, Alan the Entertainer, and Son Son. And from Tobago, Amateur Comic, Bishop Terence Baines. Listen, this is a laughing matter. Get your tickets now at Dionz Electronics, 2nd floor, Port Mall, Scarborough. And Island e-tickets or call 685-1988. At the door, you will pay more. It's gonna be a family affair. Laughter is good for the soul, whether you're young or you're old. So get your tickets now. You can't afford to miss it. Add some laughter to your Easter.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you. with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back to Tobago Updates Morning Show. In studio with us, we have Ashwood Jack. He's no stranger to the Tobago space. He's always fronting for Tobago's autonomy. And we have him here this morning, and we're speaking about the Prime Minister's opening speech at CARICOM. Good morning, and welcome to you, Mr. Jack.
Good morning, Mr. June. Good morning, listener. Good morning to the listening and viewing public.
Mr. Jack.
Let me thank you all for the opportunity to be able to spend a little time with you.
Now, Mr. Jack, the Prime Minister made several strong statements at the 50th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. From your vantage point at the office of the Prime Minister, how significant was this address diplomatically?
Well, you know, it's an interesting statement about the strong statement and strong statement how diplomatic it would have been. Diplomacy is not the absence of truth. You know, too often we try to cover truth with diplomacy. I want somebody to tell me one untruth that the Prime Minister told in her address. And the Prime Minister took time to look at a couple of things, and of course you can correct me if I'm wrong. She spoke about the Brent Thomas issue, and there's court document to prove that Brent Thomas was abducted from Barbados, because how you move people from one country to the other is by extradition, and the court will then give you the right to remove that person and stuff. Brent Thomas was working 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by the knockover Barbados police, and then handed over to the Tobago police, whisked away to the airport and then to Trinidad, all without due process. The court in Tobago, in passing their judgment, said it was tantamount to a kidnapping. The Prime Minister spoke about the issue of the Venezuela-Tobago issue, and I'm wondering which Caribbean government have met out to the government of Tobago during that time and said, look, I know you are overwhelmed by probably, the estimate is probably more than 100,000 Venezuelans who have come into a population of 1.4. So that you have about 8% of your population coming in at the same time in a couple of months. And the Tobago government have to find space. And that was an interesting, the way they were treated was interesting, because I don't know if you can recall, but for years there have been a detention center built in Santa Rosa to detain people from Guyana, Jamaica, some people who came, of course, here from Africa, so they were here illegally. And nothing was done. They were just detained. I remember our Guyanese brothers and sisters, our Jamaican brothers and sisters, and other Caribbean island brothers and sisters who were coming into Trinidad and being turned back at Piaco International Airport by our customs and immigration. Yet what we did is that we opened the border for nearly 100,000 Venezuelans, and what we did, we registered them and allowed them to work. I didn't see any Caribbean leader saying, oh, you would have been overwhelmed. So come, let us take some. These are the same people who are the champion of the Venezuelan cause. The people from Guyana, the people from Jamaica, the people from some African countries were saying the same thing the Venezuelans were saying. It's a hard economy. There's some persecution from a political point of view. But yet they were treated differently and the same people today who are saying the Prime Minister should not talk about it are the persons who didn't say a word when there were detention centers built for them. When I remember working on a project in Bacalit some years ago, and every time the police pass, Guyanese had to be jumping off of the scaffolding and running down by the sea. So I think it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy to think that the Prime Minister must come and just smile and shake hands. And one of the other things that the Prime Minister was very strong on was the issue of the interference of governments and political organizations from one country to the next. And when I hear people talk about it, I say, well, it's interesting. In Tobago, they will tell you, don't come from Trinidad and get involved. One country, not a sovereign democratic state, one country. And they're saying, I don't want to hear, especially if those persons are of East Indian descent. Of course, if they are of PNM, it's okay for them to come. So there's a deceit that I hear being very pervasive around this place.
So let me ask, not to cut you. What do you have to say as it relates to the Venezuelan government? Saying that her statements contradict regional integration and founding principles of the Caribbean community.
The Venezuelan government handwriting in matter of regional integration. Venezuelan government have been threatening to invade Guyana for how many years now?
Okay, but they
didn't know that yet with regional integration. The Venezuelan government, who the same government that their people in the millions, more than 8 million of their citizens have left Venezuela to find better living as a result of government policy. The Venezuelan government, who don't understand that they have the largest oil reserve in the world, have their people running to countries who don't have 100 of the resources that they have. So what give them the moral authority to tell Trinidad and Tobago how to operate their sovereign democratic country? So what about this statement that basically what the Prime Minister said can possibly harm bilateral relations? Again, Venezuelan action have been harming bilateral relations. Venezuela, as I said, they have been threatening, Guyana have been doing all kind of things in that Essequibo region for years. And the same Caribbean government have been quiet. There must be a one-size-fits-all in this issue of democracy and the issue of diplomacy. There must be a one-size-fits-all. What is good for the goose is as good or better for the gander. You can't be telling Trinidad and Tobago, who have to bear the brunt of this, the burden of our brothers and sisters, of course, in Venezuela. You just take it and hush your mouth and don't say nothing, right? And whereas you are getting oil at reduced prices, this thing is not about Trinidad and Tobago. It is that a couple Caribbean islands have been the beneficiary of oil and gas at reduced prices from the Maduro regime and stuff like that. People looking out for their friends. And that's basically what it is.
So we're talking about CARICOM, and we know the Prime Minister mentioned that she found that CARICOM was very silent on the issue when it related to Trinidad and Tobago and the Guyana being threatened by Venezuela. Now, she also mentioned that while she was in opposition, the same case with Brent Thomas, she wrote to the Secretariat and she hasn't received a response till date. And also we saw Prime Minister Mia Mottley speaking about this statement being defamatory and that it was already dealt with from a previous Attorney General. How do we reconcile those both statements being put into the public domain?
Again, I want to ask this question. I listen to people trying to use Mia's Prime Minister Mottley's statement as justification. Saying that previous Attorney General dealt with it when the court in Trinidad and Tobago said it was kidnapping. which one holds more legal sway? Secondly, I don't know if you have been, I'm quite sure you all have been following the issue of the disappearance of the Brent Thomas files from the Office of the Attorney from the Ministry of National Security. So it is not that the Prime Minister said something that was not true. She said something that for them was uncomfortable. And there's a difference between truth and discomfort.
Right.
You know, the Caribbean, like a lot of the rest of the region, have lost its ability to tell the truth, to be upfront. Our leaders have become very tame. Everybody wants to be everybody's friend. And that does not necessarily mean that everybody have been dealing very fairly with each other, but just hush your mouth, because we are the Caribbean. We want to be a zone of peace. Is it that the Caribbean really a zone of peace? John Tobago have had what? Escalating murder rates until in 2024. The murder rate went as much as 600 and something. Is that peaceful? John Tobago has been flagged as one of the biggest transshipment points for drugs in this part of the world. Our young women and stuff have been used as drug mules, sent on a plane to go to England, to go to the United States, to tow drugs into other countries. Some of them are languishing in jail for, some of them as much as lifetime in prison. Look at what happened the last year. The murder rate in Trinidad and Tobago have fallen by just over 40%. So it's a little disheartening to hear some of the comments being made by especially our people. I saw a reporter virtually running down, dogging the Prime Minister of Barbados to try to get a negative comment. I mean, it was pathetic. But the fact is, there are some media houses, and this is not unique to Trinidad. There are media houses all over the world who take sides, and for one reason or the other. And so it's not even new. I've heard things about myself in the media that I used to go and look for me. I didn't even know what the media were talking about. I said, "Boy, you have a next Ashwood Jack here somewhere." I said, "Go and look for me." So I think that the Prime Minister have shown a certain amount of grit that says, "Listen, I am willing to address these matters frontally, and let the chips fall where they may." But at the same time, I am one of the persons who believe that that the curriculum is a very important mechanism for trade and for bringing the people of the Caribbean together. I believe that there's strength in numbers, and the Caribbean represents that. Now there's some strength in that regard, but I also believe that the Caribbean leaders need to speak on behalf of the people, because there are a number of sovereign democratic states that came together to form one common union. It's a trade, but more trade and security bloc than anything else.
Right. So coming back to Tobago, as it relates to Tobago's autonomy quest, what are your thoughts on, for the first time, our own Chief Secretary being invited and also having talks with, I think it's Dr. Sir Kennedy Simmons?
Yeah, Simmons, the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister St. Kitts.
Right. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, that in itself should have been sending a powerful message to the people of Tobago, and by extension the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The Tobago House of Assembly started in 1980. Of course, at a different level, but in terms of they having power to do a number of things, it started in 1996, the 17th of December, 96. We have had, what, five chief secretaries? Charles, London, another Charles, Dennis, and now Augustine. And for it to take us 29 years, for a Prime Minister to say, let us treat Tobago as a partner, as an equal in this Twin Island Republic and carry the leader of the island to a CARICOM meeting and not only carry them, but designate them a delegate so that they can take part in all the high-level meeting is an indication that there's some seriousness in terms of how the exposure of Caribbean leaders and stuff like that. And people, I heard some people, and I read some comments when the announcement was made, and people were saying, he just go in, he's just another number, and then until of course I heard nobody spoke since he was made a delegate. But there's something else to that. I think that people understand. We think Tobago is small. Tobago is not small. In the context of the Caribbean, Tobago is a large island. Just a couple square miles smaller than Barbados, just a couple square miles smaller than Grenada, larger than St. Kitts Nevis put together, which was the host of this year's CARICOM meeting. And if you're talking about judging countries the way countries are judged now, because Tobago's population is what it is, because there's Trinidad and Tobago, and there have not been enough opportunities in Tobago because of the same issue of autonomy. So people leave and they go to Trinidad just as they leave and go to the United States, and Trinidadians do the same thing. People from all over the world, they go where opportunities are abound. And now the issue of Tobago, if Tobago was a sovereign democratic state, in the international law, Tobago will be larger than Trinidad. It will be larger than most of the countries in the Caribbean, because countries are not judged by their land space, but countries are judged by the exclusive economic zone. And Tobago has one of the largest exclusive economic zone in this part of the world, in that Tobago is bound by Trinidad and then I think by Barbados on the other side, but we go all the way out to the African Ocean, which gives Tobago the 200 miles of exclusive economic zone, and that is what gives Trinidad and Tobago a lot of the natural resources. You sometimes see people, especially our brothers and sisters in Trinidad, saying Tobago is dependent on Trinidad for the survival. And I would invite them, as I've said on this program before, I would invite them to come to Tobago and let's take a drive in the night up to the eastern part of the island. And if you live anywhere from Bacalet up, if you look east, you will see the flares burning in the air every night. And that is the oil rigs that are burning off the excess of that. And if you look where Trinidad is located, way down on the other side, a lot of stuff are in Tobago waters, but they always refer to them as northeast of Trinidad, right? A lot of them, the natural gas fields that are now looking to come into production.
Mr. Jack, I have one last question. What are your thoughts as it relates to the actions being taken for food security in Tobago?
Well, I had a private conversation with a very high-ranking, the chief secretary to be exact, last week. And I want to say this. Tobago have to, not just need to, have to do more in terms of our food security. I am appalled when you go to the port or you go to the market. People importing shadow belly. From Trinidad. From my older viewers, Fitweed. People importing shadow belly. It is things that, annoying, and when you see where some of these vegetables and things are produced on the sister island, it scares you, because the amount of chemicals and stuff that are used to produce some of these things. And when you see the number of young Tobagonians, in fact Tobagonians of all ages, that are suffering from cancer and all the other diseases that we call lifestyle. Some of them is eating style diseases, because everybody have become conscious, very health conscious. Everybody have a bullet, everybody have a juicer, and everybody think, oh, I'm going to juice and make me healthy. And the question is, what quality of vegetables are you using to juice? Because a farmer, you have big demand on they have the cucumbers or whatever on the ground, and there's a massive demand for it, and they spray it 2 days or 3 days in advance, but yet they need 7 days to pick. You think they're waiting for the 7 days? You didn't see when they spray it. So they pick it, and remember, there's no testing to show that on the skin of these things have too much chemicals and stuff like that. So there need to be a win to be, and I'm happy that I see the Chief Secretary have now integrated the CPEP with agriculture. You know, it sends a very powerful message as to the direction that the administration wishes to go. And I don't know, I want to wish Secretary Clark all the best. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but it's work that is needed in order to make Tobago self-sufficient in food. I mean, it wouldn't be fully self-sufficient, because I think one of the only countries in the world that is self-sufficient in food is Guyana. And that is because there were sacrifices made when very unpopular decisions when Forbes Burnham was the Prime Minister, that says, you know, you can't import apple, you can't do this, you can't, and people say, but they're mad. But today they have shown that have paid off. So sometimes the sacrifices weren't the result.
Now, Mr. Jack, we want to thank you so much for coming on this morning and sharing your insights on the 50th Heads of State meeting at CARICOM and the Prime Minister's remarks that were made. And we wish we could have carried on this conversation a bit longer. I know I still have a few questions I wanted to ask, but we have run out of time. I want to thank you for coming on this morning.
Okay, yeah, I want to thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
And I want to say that, no, I am not the person who is not very controversial at times. Sometimes I stay in my small corner, but I say what I have to say when I have to say it.
Now, we also want to remind you to stay tuned in to Tobago Updates. The conversations will continue after the break, but please remember to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
TL Promotion presents Laugh and Live this Good Friday, 7 p.m. It's non-stop laughter at Birchwood Legacy Park, Lowland. Special guest from Jamaica, Mr. Funny himself, Owen Blacker Ellis. From Trinidad, Rising Comics, Alan the Entertainer, and Son. And from Tobago, amateur comic, Bishop Terence Baines. Listen, this is a laughing matter. Get your tickets now at Dionz Electronics, 2nd floor, Port Mall, Scarborough. An Island e-tickets, or call 685-1988. At the door, you will pay more. It's gonna be a family affair. Laughter is good for the soul, whether you're young or you're old. So get your tickets now. You can't afford to miss it. Add some laughter to your Easter.
Who said the elderly can't have fun too? We're talking good food, proper music, lots of games, and a day at the beach they will never forget. From the time we left the compound at Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, the vibe was already established. Wheels up and seatbelts on. Watch now, when we touched down in Pigeon Point, everybody was ready for excitement. But before anything could take place, we had to secure bellies. You ever play a bingo by the beachside? Well, that was the first activity on the roster, and boy did these seniors have fun. However, others wanted something more physical, so we brought out the ring toss, and not even arthritis could have stopped them. Well, I was blown away at how straight these people were. Are you sure this is a home for the elderly? Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, but nothing beats the song of Good Steel Pan by the shores while we take a dip in Tobago's finest water. Wait, more food again? This is my type of event. The energy was amazing and nothing short of a blessing. Pick up Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, because joy doesn't retire, laughter doesn't age, and memories like these last forever.
To a stranger.
put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers. In studio with us, we have from the TTPS ASP Sharon Williams. She's here to talk to us about TTPS updates and road safety. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning to the listening and viewing public, and I'm happy to be here.
Now, ASP Williams, we just want to get right into it. Can you share with the public any updates, crime updates that you have observed over the past week? Anything you want to share with the public about ongoing investigations? I know we saw about the foreman in, I believe it was Patience Hill or Signal Hill, who got into an altercation with a gunman, and he is currently at the Scarborough General Hospital.
Right. Well, inquiries are ongoing into that report. Also, the division is still marred by a lot of house breaking, shop break-ins, right, and break-ins on a whole. And you know, we continuously try to employ the public to take safety measures. Now, I know sometimes we always say bring back the old time days, but the old time days really in terms of securing your property, like leaving doors open and all that, that doesn't apply anymore, right? So we employ persons to continuously take measures to secure their premises, whether they're residential or business premises, and make themselves a hard target in that regards.
Any other particular updates that you want to share with the public in terms of, as you said, there's house break-ins? We know we recently saw the road traffic accident. I know you're here to talk about road safety this morning as well. Anything else in particular?
I know recently we had the road fatality down at Canaan there. An investigation into that report is also ongoing, so we can't share too much on that, right? But we continue to implore on road users to obey the traffic laws and not just drive for yourself alone, it's to drive for everyone around you, and all the road users in particular.
Ms. Williams, if I may, can I ask not to any specific situation, however, the roadways that don't necessarily have the white line, what can you just share with us the rules of turning, the speed limit in the boroughs, so you know the public could at least have a better idea as to maybe what is right and what is not right? Right.
So the rural part of Tobago, we don't have those white lines. It's always prudent to drive on the excuse me, on the nearer side of the road. So if you're on the right side, you drive closer. And on the left side, you drive closer to that. So it's half the roadway. So say, for example, if an accident occurs, right, you observe police officers always measuring the road. So we look at the width of the road and where the halfway mark is. So it's prudent on the drivers to be cognizant of the roadway and drive accordingly.
Now I'm going to go back a bit to the break-ins that you have experienced that are currently ongoing here on the island of Tobago. Are there any specific areas that you see these crimes happening more frequently than others? And can you share that information so our listening audience can have an idea and, as you said, secure their premises?
It's actually throughout Tobago, right? But it is most prevalent in Scarborough and Chivon district. Now when I say Scarborough district encompasses up to Mason, up to Mount St. George, right? Wim, all those areas. So all that area is Scarborough district. And when we look at Chivon as well, so we have the Boku, the Lowlands, Bethel, right? Those are Chivon district.
So as it relates to, I know that it's two separate divisions, licensing and the new grace period, the short grace period that persons will have to become roadworthy. What role do police officers play with that in terms of the roadblocks, and is it a joint effort? Is it
right? So we have joint operations with licensing as well, right? We have a lot of that. But, you know, the onus is on the drivers of those vehicles to bring their vehicle up to standard, up to roadworthiness, get the vehicle inspected, right? check your lights regularly, check your brakes regularly, all aspect of it, obey the traffic laws, right? So, yes, we do work together, but the police officers are always out there, right? It's not one be about enforcement, and enforcement don't really mean that we always have to go out and charge immediately. But you know, we have serious offenses, and we have speeding. Speeding is always a serious offense, right? Drinking while driving. But then we have the minor ones that with the lights and so forth. Now, recently they would have amended the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, right, with reference to these fines. So there's a grace period that is now being applied for the minor infractions, so to speak. So say the light offenses, right, you have between 3 to 7 working days, right? When the officer stops you, if they see the infraction, you now have 3, they issue a warning, right? So you have between 3 to 7 working days, depending on the offense, to comply, right? To actually bring your vehicle up to standard, but you have to return to a station to show that you comply with the warning within the specified period. Now, if you don't comply within that specified period, then the ticket automatically applies.
Now, when we talk about road safety, we always think about the drivers on the road. But I want you to share with the pedestrians how important it is for them to also adhere to road safety measures. Because again, I think a lot of individuals, especially as pedestrians, when they aren't drivers, they do not understand how things are done when you are driving. There are blind spots on vehicles that they may not be aware of, because sometimes you may see the facial expressions when the vehicle comes or they decide to cross at that particular time, but they are thinking that the driver is seeing them when in fact they haven't. Can you again share some tips with the viewing public, especially the pedestrians on the roads, some of the safety measures that they can put in place to ensure that they are safe, as well as it's a collective effort?
Right, and I'm happy that you brought that to the fore, because most of the time when an accident occurs with a pedestrian, most people will automatically think that the driver is at fault. We have situations where persons are walking on the road and they step down into the road in the path of the oncoming vehicle. So pedestrians also have a duty of care as a road user. So take for example, and we only have 2 here in Tobago in terms of the walkovers. You find persons just running across the road instead of using that walkover. We see one down at Bishop there. We observe that the children are really using that walkover there. But the one at Darrell Spring, we urge persons to use that walkover instead of running across the road. Also, in areas where we have the zebra crossing, persons tend to cross anyway instead of using that zebra crossing. And you know that could really be an offense, right? There's a zebra crossing right there and you just decide to cross. Now, there are also areas where police officers might be directing traffic and you just find that pedestrian just come and just go across the road, just step across the road. You have to wait on that officer to give you directions when to cross. So we're urging the pedestrians as well to be mindful of the roadway, be mindful of the vehicles on the roadway, right? So you have a duty, the driver have a duty as well.
Now, I know you spoke about the zebra crossing and there being a zebra crossing right in the vicinity, but they're choosing not to. For example, in Scarborough, right on the port there, I know that zebra crossing that was right at the edge of KFC's curb there, it's no longer there, and there's one further down, but we are still seeing pedestrians crossing there. Can you shed a little bit of light on that for the public?
I know it's defaced, and we are in communication with the Works Department to have it replaced, but it's faded. So many persons who, like say persons coming from Trinidad and they don't know that it was actually there, but we who live in Tobago know it was there. So I understand that aspect of it, right? So persons are still asked to be mindful in those areas or wherever area you're crossing the street.
Now, I have a question for you to add to what Renessa was asking. Is the TTPS currently doing any sensitization in schools? Because even with the zebra crossing, sometimes you see children running across and you see drivers behaving as though there is no crossing. And, is there anything that the division is doing to at least maybe better teach the children how to properly cross, or how to maybe stand back if, you know, a driver is not being responsible?
All right. We continuously try to sensitize the public, including our children. So we always have community policing officers go into our schools and engage the children in different areas, right? And that is one of the areas. Now we look at, when we're doing these things, we look at areas such as Bonacordia, you know, there's a zebra crossing there. And a lot of persons have seen it, could have drive through the Wren, and there's a traffic light there also, right? So we try to sensitize the children there as well. Don't just come and start a walk. You stand, you look, you wait for the light. Right? So when the light is on red, that's the time for you to cross. So yes, we do sensitization in schools as well.
Now, ASP Williams, I want to thank you so much for coming on this morning, for giving us and reminding us about road safety, help us to be more mindful of what we are doing and to be in collaboration with the other drivers, with pedestrians, and pedestrians with drivers. We also want to remind you to stay tuned in. We have one more conversation when we come back from the break, but please remember to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. Do more, live more.
Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do, what to eat, how to get restful sleep. Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
Coming up, fets, pan, parades, soca. Yes, Carnival is in full swing. Artists from all over added their strokes to Antigua and Barbuda's canvas. A boost for these Barbadian projects through the power to make a difference. Equal servings of culture and good cheer. It's Caribbean Passport TV right here on this station.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. It's who we are and the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. We're deepening our commitment to the region, continuing to invest in the networks, services, and digital solutions that move Caribbean businesses forward. Whether you are a mid-sized business or multinational player, we bring you resilient connectivity, personalized service, and tailored IT solutions, all powered by local teams that truly have your back. We're here to help you navigate challenges, grow, and achieve your goals with practical solutions, reliable networks, and a partnership rooted in trust and your long-term success. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back. And we're on to that segment of the morning where we focus on our women. It is International Women's Day week, and we are celebrating our women all week long. This morning we have Crystal Phillips. She's an entrepreneur and author, and she's going to be joining us this morning. As International Women's Day approaches, conversations often celebrate resilience and empowerment. But what happens when strength becomes a permanent role? When being dependable becomes being responsible for everything? We have with us Trinbagonian founder and author Crystal Phillips, whose work explores both personal and professional systems. In her memoir, Breaking Barrels, she reflects on caregiving, identity, and boundaries. In Misdiagnosed, she examines how structural gaps quietly produce burnout in small businesses. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know International Women's Day, we tend to celebrate our women in such a big way, but we're going to be diving into your journey as an entrepreneur. Now, Crystal, what does being the strong one look like for Caribbean women today?
The strong one typically is encompassed by one word: burnout.
And how does caregiving, especially as daughters, shape how women show up in leadership and business?
Well, caregiving trains anticipation over responsibility. It builds leadership skills, but it also makes delegation hard. So many women learn leadership before they even enter business.
Okay, and Crystal, why do you believe resilience is sometimes over-celebrated?
Resilience. Because you see, resilience is for crisis. It's not something that you should be prepared for. It's not a lifestyle. So when survival becomes normal, something is definitely misaligned. You know, endurance is impressive, but it isn't sustainable.
Now, do you think some of these notions that we have as Caribbean women, especially knowing our history, do you think that those traits are what is passed on to us, and we believe that those norms are what make us women, and that we should be shifting from that to something a bit more softer? We know we're on that soft trend now in the social media space and with us as women. What do you think about that?
I don't really think it's about strength per se. Being soft or being strong is about becoming sustainable, not just strong or not just soft. Because, to be honest, neither is sustainable. So it's more about becoming more sustainable than strong or soft.
All right. And Crystal, what are some of the things that you would like Tobagonian women and women on a whole to realize about themselves based on your book and some of your realizations?
I believe I would want them to stop and think, give themselves a little bit of grace, and realize that strength really isn't about how much you can carry, and more about how you can distribute it. And to just analyze your life and figure out what you've been carrying that you didn't need to carry.
Now, for those women who feel accomplished but quietly overwhelmed, what advice would you give to them to give them a mindset shift to move from that reality into a space that is more manageable for them?
You're coming with the questions rapidly. Into a space that's more manageable. I would say that, I guess I'll go back to what I just said. In terms of understanding where your skills are versus what your availability is, do like an alignment audit. Because what happens is this: competency attracts dependency. We all know this. When you're the competent one, you become the dependable one by default. And people lean where things don't shake, don't wobble. And you do not want to become that thing for everybody and everything. So build a system, build a structure, build something that will allow you not to be the only bedrock of everybody and everything.
Okay, Crystal. And why do you think high capacity women tend to overfunction?
Why we overfunction? I think we overfunction just because we've been the capable ones for a very long time, and because we're capable, we start to believe that everyone else might be incapable, and that just pushes us into a space of overfunctioning.
Just on the topic of overfunctioning, do you think it's tied to self-worth, that the only way I am worthy of anything is because I am capable?
No. Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. I believe it's more about just wanting things done correctly. It's not about your self-worth or your self-esteem. It's just about wanting things done properly and not having to go back and repeat something. You know, you ask somebody to do something one way, write this in this tone, or create this thing in this particular way, and they do it another way. You have to go back, do it over. If any of you guys are trying, I think you'll understand. You know, you tell your child to wash the wares, but everything wet. You had to go back, you had to dry. It's just about doing it. You just want it done correctly the first time. So you find yourself over functioning. This is just delegation and letting chips fall by me.
All right. And Crystal, what advice would you have for the quote-unquote modern day woman?
Advice in which regard?
In terms of, I think the modern day woman tends to be they do a lot of things on the go, on the fly, as opposed to that older woman who you were taught to cook, clean, do certain things in a particular way. I think the younger generation operates on a totally different stream. So what advice would you have for them in terms of being self-sufficient and success as it relates to just being a woman in general?
What advice I have for them as it relates to success and being a woman in general? It have so much. It has so much. I could say, like, whether in families or business, like when one woman becomes the system, exhaustion is inevitable. So plan, structure, create blocks of time. For me, I only do meetings on Tuesdays and Fridays, but the odd change ever so often. Right? So it's about creating a set structure, not too rigid, but a structure that you can manage to. And delegate. Stop thinking it's only you can do things. Delegate. Everybody else around you, I am sure, is quite capable of their own thing. Everything doesn't need to. And give yourself grace. We don't give ourselves grace. We talk to ourselves. And man, I don't even understand the things that you would tell yourself. I'm sure you wouldn't tell the lady next to you. You'll never tell her that. You'll never talk to her that way. You wouldn't talk to the person on the street. But when you're in your head and you're talking to yourself, goodness, things you tell ourselves.
Yes, as women, sometimes we tend to heavily critique ourselves, Giselle and Crystal, and we would give that grace to the persons around us, but we wouldn't even give that to ourselves. And I think that's where we need to start on this International Women's Day for the theme this year, ensuring that we give to ourselves as much as we want to give to those around us. Because I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, for sharing your insight, for sharing and reminding the women viewing that it is okay to take a break. It's okay to sometimes allow things to happen how they happen. Try not to control the outcome of all situations and circumstances, because then you're over-functioning. Then you are putting yourself out of a capacity. I want to thank you so much this morning for reminding us of that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Now, viewers, we have come to the end of our programming here on Tobago Updates Morning Show, but don't worry, we have GMT up next with Chanel Felix. We want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. But remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
The Bell Garden Anglican School is here to entertain and inform you. We come here on a health-conscious mission to tell you that living healthy and drug abstinence is the best decision. So sit back and relax, except the judging panel, because we come here to flip the script and change the channel. Drag your bow, Mr. Fiddler.
The party was lit, but all I see is people lie down in their spit and their vomit. I know what I say is right down till we lie down, but don't let drugs and alcohol carry us 6 feet underground.
You might feel like you're flying with colors and you can manage it because you're so smart, but you can't control it when it's in your system and ready to fail your heart. Cocaine, marijuana, and ecstasy, even the trending will never be good for we. Everybody wanna zest and pop pills, but that not help you develop no skills. So say no to drugs today from the first time offer. Honestly, I feel amazing. It was easy for me and my classmates to successfully perform, and it was kind of difficult in some places, but we got through to it.
I feel fantastic. It's unreal. It was just like we had a 2-day period to learn everything and to get everything into sorts. So it just came naturally to us as performing.
I'm feeling ecstatic, I'm feeling excited, I'm feeling really happy for the students as well because they did the work, they made the sacrifice, they sacrificed their lunchtime, and I really commend them for putting their best foot forward. Well, I am someone who has been in the cultural space for many years, so it pleases me to see that they are using the cultural art form to push positive messages.
Stress has become one of the most significant triggers for substance misuse and relapse. Social pressures, economic uncertainty, and mental health challenges can leave individuals, especially our youths, searching for ways to cope. Unfortunately, some turn to alcohol, marijuana, and other substances as temporary relief, often leading to long-term consequences for their health, relationship, and future opportunities.
This is why prevention matters. We must continue to promote healthy ways of coping with stress through physical activity, proper tests, good nutrition, open communication, counseling, and creative expression. Just as importantly, we must ensure that individuals feel safe seeking help without fear of judgment or stigma. The Tobago House of Assembly, through the Division of Community Development and Social Protection, remains committed to this people-centered approach. We will continue to invest in community programs, youth development initiatives, and partnership that strengthens mental health, support, and promote healthy lifestyles.
We leave you with the words of Ra Shorty I, a founding father. Watch out, my children, watch out. It's about a fella called Lucifer with a bag of white powder. And he don't want to powder your face, but to bring shame and disgrace to the human race. Drag your bone, Mr. Fiddler.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And guys, you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting topics and conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. We begin with a world on the edge. Over the weekend, the US and Israel Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, a massive joint strike on Iran. President Trump confirmed the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, aiming for total regime change. Iran has already retaliated, striking U.S. bases across the Gulf. Oil prices are spiking globally as the threat of a wider Middle East war looms. Additionally, Chief Secretary and Finance Secretary held a press briefing yesterday. The update highlighted Tobago's historic CARICOM engagement and a new autonomy framework involving a People's Parliament. Key developments include the MV Blue Wave Harmony starting commercial sailings and a loan guarantee program covering 80% of business loans. Strategic focus remains on food security, infrastructure financing, and supporting registered local businesses via major banks. Additionally, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has revealed the staggering cost of the Tobago radar. Speaking outside the Red House last week, she disclosed that the U.S. is spending US $3 million daily to operate the high-tech system. She defended the continued presence of U.S. Marines at the A&R Robinson International Airport, stating that there are safeguards for this multi-million-dollar American investment. And finally, the hunting season officially closed on February 28, as turtle watching season began yesterday, March 1st. It closes on August 30th, and visitors are reminded that permits are strictly mandatory to visit leatherback nesting sites. And that was our news in 90 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we jump straight on ahead into our conversation, and we are chatting all about Teaching Service Commission and other teacher-related issues in Tobago. And to have that conversation with me this morning, I have the privilege of speaking with the recently elected Tutor Tobago officer, Mr. Dionz. Good morning and welcome.
Pleasant good morning to you, and a pleasant good morning to the listening audience, all those that are locked on this morning on Tobago Updates. A pleasant good morning to you, and a special good morning to the teachers and educators across Trinidad and Tobago.
Excellent. Now, you have recently gotten into the role, but the issues are still there. They don't change. And even as there's a new leader in the seat for Tobago, there is that sustained advocacy. Tell us a bit about some of the issues that you have continued championing, and some of them that are at the top of the agenda as we speak.
All right, thank you. So at the top of the agenda, one of the issues that is plaguing Tobago presently very severely is the issue of leave classification. What happened many years ago, my predecessors would have understood the challenge that Tobago teachers face in that leave that needs to be classified, whether it's extended sick leave or no pay leave and so on, will have to go make its way down to the Ministry of Education in Trinidad to be classified and returned to Tobago. So over the years, advocacy have been made for that those leave classifications to take place in Tobago. Last year, under the leadership of Mr. Braden Roberts, the immediate past Tobago officer, we were able to come to a consensus at the CPO office in a tripartite meeting between the CPO, the Ministry of Education, and Tutor. And at that meeting, it was agreed upon that Tobago is going to start to classify those leaves. What would have taken place thereafter is that the leave that were outstanding at the Ministry of Education actually were packed in boxes and sent back to Tobago. However, the challenge that exists is that there's no one in Tobago with the authorization to classify those leaves. So what is happening presently, the leaves are here to be classified, but there's no authorization. That authorization under the Education Act must come from the Minister of Education. So we are waiting the Minister of Education to ensure that the Tobago teachers and the leave can be classified in the Tobago space. All is required, based on my understanding, is an authorization letter letter from the Minister of Education authorizing Tobago under the Office of the Chief Secretary, the Chief Administration or Administrator's Office, to start to classify those leave. And it's long outstanding and teachers are waiting. And there are a number of consequences when your leave are not classified as a teacher. When your leave is not classified as a teacher, your benefits are withheld from you. For example, there are individuals that have retired, and because they have outstanding leave to be classified, their superannuation benefits cannot be calculated, and they wait. Persons 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, waiting for leave to be classified so that they can get their benefits. And these are persons that would have contributed to the service 30 years, 35 years, 40 years. This last week, Thursday, that I visited a next school and encountered an individual who is also facing that challenge. In addition to that, there are teachers who would have leave to be classified, and once their leave is not classified, the increments that are due unto them as teachers, they don't receive it. So you remain in a place of stagnation when your leave is not classified. So this is of urgency in the Tobago space, and we want to get this situation rectified as soon as possible.
Understood. And even as those conversations are continuing to happen, what is the latest update on that as it pertains to the leave being officially being given that authority here at the Tobago House of Assembly?
Well, there's no official update. The tutor would have had a meeting at the Division of Education with the statutory meeting with the administrator. But that challenge really lies, and that authority really lies with the Chief Administrator Office. I would have reached out to the Secretary and asked him to look into the matter, but since then we have had no updates, and I am saying that it's a matter of urgency, and I'm going to be advocating strongly in this space that we need the leave classification authorization letter in Tobago as soon as possible so that that can start to be processed, so that our teachers can start to receive what is due unto them for years gone by.
Understood. And another issue that has come up is the EAP situation, where persons were having conversation and thought that that applied to Tobago, whereby teachers were no longer given that allowance to go to EAP free of charge. Talk to us a bit about that.
All right. So the employee assistance program, what would have transpired in the past, and I think many teachers in the Tobago space was not aware of what was revealed to us at the division meeting last week, Tuesday. So what would have happened in the past is that teachers would have called a specific number that was given to them, and they would have made an appointment to have the services that are available at the employee assistance program. What we were made aware of last week, Tuesday, at a division meeting, is that teachers in the Tobago space, they have to reach out to the Division of Education through the HR department to make that appointment. Because what is happening is that the Division of Education makes payments on behalf of Tobago teachers, while the Ministry of Education makes payments on behalf of Trinidad teachers. So what would have been transpired in the past, because there are teachers, there are reports that came to tutor in recent times where persons would have made calls and they were told that they would have to pay for the service. So I'm informing teachers this morning, and you're going to be aware, and it's going to be shared in this space, that if you require the assistance of the EAP or the service of the EAP, you contact the Division of Education, HR department, and indicate that you want the service, and they're going to make that arrangement for you, and you're going to be given a code whereby you can go and receive the service. So that recommendation or that request for service must be made through the division.
Understood. And tell us a bit about some of the other things that you have been working on since you have gotten into office as the Tobago officer.
All right. So as you indicated, it's been 1 month now. Today actually is 1 month since I've taken up the role of Tobago officer. One of the key things that I've started to do is visiting schools into the Tobago space, getting a feedback from teachers and seeing what are the needs. Because if you are to provide a service, then you must have a sense as to what is happening in this space and what are the needs of the teachers. There are several issues that have come to the fore based on my interactions and my visit to the schools. Chief of them is that a number of teachers are awaiting acting appointments. Now, what happens is when an individual maybe goes on vacation, for example, a principal in the secondary school, there would be someone that would act up for them. In the case of the primary school, if a principal retires, what happens in the short term is that we have the senior teacher, the most senior person on the plant, acting for those individuals. And there are many individuals in the Tobago space who are unable to receive their acting remuneration for the simple reason that the recommendation might be at the Teaching Service Commission, or the recommendation has not yet gone to the Teaching Service Commission. So what those individuals are really doing, based on a meeting that we had with the Teaching Service Commission, they are not really acting, they are just performing the duties of. Because until you receive documentation from the Teaching Service Commission, it's only at that point you start to act in the position, and it's only at that point can you be remunerated for the services that have been rendered. So that's an issue that requires a lot of attention, so that we can start to streamline it and have it in a more efficient and effective way, so that in short order, when persons act, they can start receiving their remuneration in a timely manner, rather than waiting 5 years, 6 years, in some cases 15 years, and they have not received their acting for services already rendered to them. So that's an outstanding one. What we also have in this space, we had a meeting, the tutor had a meeting with the Teaching Service Commission. It was late last year that vacancies, the filling of vacancies, the advertisement for the filling of vacancies would have went out in this space. That has since closed, and those applications have gone to Teaching Service Commission. We were informed last week, Wednesday, at our meeting with the Teaching Service Commission, that they're in the process of sorting, because what would happen, you might have persons that are not qualified for the position that would have applied. So the sorting process is taking place, and they indicated that in short order that the interviews for those vacancies are going to start. And I am saying we really need those interviews to start as soon as possible, because visiting some schools, you'll realize that there are teachers in the Tobago space that have been appointed, let's say, a senior teacher, but they are acting the role of a principal while teaching a class. In the absence of a BOA in the school, they are still performing the functions of a BOA. And there are instances where our teachers are being burnt out because of the many roles or the many hats that they are trying to fill within the school environment. So there are lots of challenges that the teachers face, and as tutor, we are going to continue the strong advocacy on behalf of the teachers in the Tobago space to ensure that those things come to an end.
Understood. What are some of the things that you truly hope to achieve in your time as a Tobago tutor representative?
Thank you. So one of the things I hope to achieve in the Tobago space, there are too many backlogs of situations. There's too many backlog actings. There are too many backlog of increments. There's too many backlogs. I am hoping that in my tenure that we can really deal with the legacy that is left, deal with the backlogs that are existing, and we get to a place where we are more effective, where we are more efficient, where we can streamline the system in collaboration with the Division of Education. We get to that place where things occur in a more timely manner. In addition to that, we know the situation Mr. Roberts was championing that cause of the contract teachers in the Tobago space, and officers before him would have been championing the cause of the contract teachers in the Tobago space. It is too long that we have this situation where we have teachers 18, 19, 15 years working on contract. There are some of them that have passed the stipulated age to get into the public service, which is 45. So it means that they might have to remain on contract. But we are saying that that needs to change. The last meeting, again, at the division meeting, there was a research that was done, and it has been sent since to the Ministry of Education. They would have shared their concern. Tutor was not privy and is not privy as yet to the information, but the situation with the contract teachers is one that I'm going to continue to advocate and advocate strongly. We need to reduce to almost zero the contract situation in Tobago, because these individuals are employed, and they are employed at the base. Contract teachers are not entitled to incremental total arrears as in-service teachers. And these individuals have been in the secondary school for a number of years. These individuals perform the tasks of teachers. They go beyond sometime that role and function as teachers as any other teachers. And it's kind of inhumane to have them in that position. Yes, they would have agreed to a contract, but at the same time, we want to ensure that those individuals that are on contract get into the service, get into the mainstream of things so that they start to receive the same benefits as their counterparts that they sit next to day to day.
Understood. What about the issue of regularity and punctuality and planning for teachers? Is that an issue that tutor is working with the teachers to rectify?
All right, so as it relates to planning and non-contact time, in the primary school, teachers do not receive non-contact time presently. And what do we mean non-contact time? Non-contact time is time for you as a teacher to plan for your next day, to plan your lessons, what you are going to do tomorrow. So what happens presently is either teachers remain after school, or when they get home, the time that should be allotted for their family, they utilize that time to plan. We have, as tutor, would have advocated, Mr. Roberts would have sent forward a proposal to the former Secretary of Education indicating and requesting that we have the non-contact time returned to the primary school. Outlined it in a letter requesting a meeting with the present secretary, and as tutor we are advocating, because without proper planning we know the downfall. If we want the education system to move forward, and if we want the Tobago district to go upward, we have to ensure that teachers receive adequate time to plan and plan properly. So that is one of the things that tutor has on the table, to have the conversation and for the reintroduction of non-contact time, because it was there some years ago, but what was indicated to us at a meeting with the former secretary is that because of the abuse of the system, that it was discontinued. But as tutor and as a responsible union, we are going to ensure that we have the non-contact time and encourage our teachers to be responsible, because we don't want a situation where it's going to be removed again because of the action of our very said teachers. We as teachers, we understand the importance of planning, and as such, we request the non-contact time for our primary school teachers. In the secondary school, however, teachers usually have non-contact time to do planning and so on.
Understood. And when we talk about the regularity and punctuality, in a number of schools, you have those situations where teachers come to school late and sometimes not showing up at all. What role is tutor playing to ensure that there is balance where that is concerned?
Well, tutor always advocate in all sphere, being the former chairman of the Tobago district. Tutor is always advocating strongly for exemplary behavior on the part of teachers. And we encourage teachers to always get to work on time. We encourage teachers to be that exemplar individual on the school compound, where teachers look up to that individual that adhere to the regulation, the code of conduct, the code of ethics that teachers are governed by. So we encourage teachers in this space to do so. Now, there might be a situation and a circumstance happening within the family situation where from time to time persons might come to school late, and we are saying that there's measures and situations where that could be addressed by having a conversation with your principal, etc. All right, but we encourage teachers at all time to get to work and to do your best. Tutor is here to advocate on your behalf where all your challenges are concerned, but when you get to the school, I encourage you and I thank you for continuing to do your best and to give your best.
Understood. And even as we round up our discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say before we leave?
All right, so I just want to encourage the teachers in the Tobago space specifically to continue to do your best, to continue the students in the Tobago space relies and is dependent on you. Continue to do your best wherever you are placed, and your association is here to advocate for you. Reach out to your Tobago officer, reach out to your DFO if there's a situation that exists at your school, and let us collectively see if we can see that we can bring a resolution to that situation.
Understood. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, we want to thank you so much for being here this morning and giving us that level of insight. We're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back after this. See you soon.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Hair goals, we've got 'em. At S&R Hair Fantasy, we provide a wide variety of quality hair, the latest hair accessories, adult toys, skin lightening products, female underwear, and much more under one roof. Check us out on Shelbourne Street in Plymouth or call us at 317-0808. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. S&R Hair Fantasy for queens who know exactly what they want.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Presents Laugh and Live this Good Friday, 7 p.m. It's non-stop laughter at Bertrude Legacy Park, Lowlands. Special guest from Jamaica, Mr. Funny himself, Owen Blacker Ellis. From Trinidad, Rising Comics, Alan the Entertainer, and Son. And from Tobago, amateur comic, Bishop Terence Baines. Listen, this is a laughing matter. Get your tickets now at Dionz Electronics, 2nd floor, Port Mall, Scarborough. An Island e-tickets or call 685-1988. At the door, you will pay more. It's gonna be a family affair. Laughter is good for the soul, whether you're young or you're old. So get your tickets now. You can't afford to miss it. Add some laughter to your Easter.
morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. What you are seeing here is the Wilson Road traffic light on the Claude Noel Highway. And usually at this time, there's a consistent expectation that traffic heading towards the east usually has a bit of a pile up right at this traffic light. That is from the traffic light and goes all the way up to the Bishop's High School walkover. We also see a bit of a traffic pileup that's happening there at the Glen Road area, and that's Glen Road heading into Scarborough or just heading whether east or west. There's usually a bit of a pileup coming down that Plymouth Road. But other than that, we see a smooth flow. And if you are trying to get to your destination at this moment, you're still rushing to get into work, you should be okay. It's not really at a standstill, but a bit of a slow movement as you usually see at this particular time when there's a rush to get into the office. And as we can see there, particularly on that Plymouth Road heading into Scarborough or heading east or west. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our conversations here on Tobago Updates. You know that this week we are particularly celebrating International Women's Week. And as we celebrate that, we are highlighting a number of women on the island of Tobago and have been doing excellent things. And to have that conversation with me this morning on women in male-dominated spaces or traditionally male-dominated professional spaces, I'm having a conversation this morning with Jia Ibraim. And she is an environmental engineer. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No problem. This morning we're talking a bit about women that are in different fields. I mean, traditionally engineering was seen as a male-dominated field. However, now we have a lot more women that are in engineering, whether it be software engineering, civil, process, you name it. But there are a lot more women showing up in that particular area. Tell us a bit about yourself for the persons who are watching and seeing you for the first time.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jia Ibraim. I am an environmental engineer, project engineer at the Division of Health and Wellness under the Public Health Department. So I deal with projects around waste management primarily. So my work would range from managing hard projects that the division may have to managing waste at the landfill, solid, liquid waste, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I would have done my degree actually in physics. So I took a different pathway to not necessarily initially do my degree in engineering, which most people believe that's the only pathway that you can follow. So I did my degree in physics and environmental physics, and then I went on to do my master's in environmental engineering.
Understood. And tell us a bit about some of your community engagement.
So outside of the engineering profession, I also heavily do a lot of project management, and that led me into the Rotary Club of Tobago, where we do a lot of community work. I started at the Rotaract level when I moved to Tobago, and when you reach 30, you go into Rotary. So I naturally went into the Rotary Club of Tobago.
Right. And what do you say to young women who are currently pursuing degrees in the engineering field or similar fields? What would you say to them?
Well, actually, recently, I'm also a part of the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago, the Tobago chapter, and we recently had we are coming off of the engineering week last week, so we would have gone to a number of schools to, I guess, inform the students a bit more about what the profession entails, because when people think about engineering, they think it's civil, chemical, and it's just a very small niche, but it's very, very broad. And it was very interesting so we had a Form 3 class, so they were in the process of selecting their subjects, and a lot of them were not aware of the wide range of different types of engineers that you can be. And also in asking who would have been interested, of course, you had more males showing a bit more interest than females. But in the end of the presentation, a lot more females actually came up to us to ask a lot more questions concerning the field. So just getting the interest there, I think, is what we have to work on first, getting the awareness there, because we also do have the enrollment in the in the profession, it's about under 20% when in terms of how many female engineers are there in general to male. I just think the interest is not there because the awareness is not there when it comes to the vast array of different types of engineering than you can be. So they think about construction and they think about civil. They don't necessarily think about, okay, there's chemical, there's biomedical, there's environmental, you know, so that public awareness part, because I was not very exposed to the wide range at the point where you are actually choosing subjects and going into a profession. And I think if I did, I would have been, because I mean, I was exposed to an extent to civil, to chemical, but environmental was not on my radar until I actually entered university.
Understood.
Yeah.
And even as it pertains to parents who are helping to guide their children to decide what direction they want to go into professionally, what type of recommendations would you make? Because as you indicated, there are many areas of engineering, and I always say engineering is very similar to communication in that way, whereby all areas and industries require a communication professional. And it is very similar for engineering. You have the mechanical engineers, the electrical engineers, you have the maintenance engineers, and there are so many areas where engineers fall into that, because it's not just about the actual practical being out in the field, but also the planning aspect of it and creating systems and structures that is engineered, even if it's, you know, administratively to manage things. And so when there's this thing where you change people's mindsets and perspectives about what actual engineers do, what advice do you have for parents who are helping their children to maneuver?
I think, well, first of all, in the Caribbean, you have the typical professions that parents sort of, you know, they want all their children to be doctors, and engineers happen to fall into that. But the scope of it, I think, is very limited in terms of what they think is available. So you may think that your child is not heavily inclined to mathematics or a science subject. So you sort of say, well, okay, that's probably not for you. But then because of the wide range that we have, they may be heavily in love with biology. One of the students actually came up to me and said, Miss, I'm not so good in physics, but I really love bio and I really love chem. And they automatically think, okay, I could only go into medicine, or I could only work in a lab. But there is biomedical engineering, there is chemical engineering. I think the parents as well aren't exposed to the options that are available. So sometimes we have career days and it's only the students, but sometimes the parents also need to be involved in these career days where they themselves could also understand what the profession entails as well. So when your child comes and says, you know, I like to fix things, from the time you see you like to solve problems and you like to fix things, that is a indicator that, you know, you will really make a good engineer. It's just probably in what field.
Right. We are in 2026. Is there still a need for that gender conscious type of management and systems that apply in areas of engineering?
I do think so, yes. I think we've come a long way, because in the Tobago context, there are a lot of female engineers in the Tobago context. Globally, is it that it has increased? The female engineers have increased, yes, but not enough. So it is still, as I said, under that 20%. So we still have 80% being males. It's a male-dominated field still. So I do think that we do need to continue the drives and the awareness and going into the schools and speaking to the students, and not just the females, the males as well, to understand where it's not that we are trying to dominate. We are just trying to have that sort of awareness there that it's an option. It's no longer a male-dominated field, but it's a field that anybody can go into and anybody could find their space in.
Right, and even if women are there, there is that level of balance or equity or, you know, just policies that are in place that are encouraging or just appealing to women and the issues that women face. Do you think that leads to the need for there to be more female leaders in the field?
Definitely. because as stated, it's already a low percentage, and that low percentage, how many women in that percentage are actually very vocal or voices that are at the stage of leadership? So that part of it we definitely need more involvement in, because you would still have a situation where if you decide to go into, let's say, civil, and you're in construction and you're dealing with a construction project, there is also a level of the space. We have to be realistic with the space that we're entering.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavily male-dominated space. So there are policies and things that you have to drive when you are in that space to feel secure, to feel safe, to also feel respected, because there's a situation where persons may still respect another male engineering on a site versus what the female is saying. So it really is just to get the awareness out, get them in these spaces, and then when you are in these spaces, to take roles of leadership as well.
And as I said, we're in 2026. You would think that with all the information available, persons know that information is information and knowledge is knowledge, whether it comes out of the mouth of a man or the mouth of a female. And what do you say to the women who say, still in this day and age, I struggle with giving professional recommendations in a work environment because there is that perception that the men know better for some strange reason?
I mean, it is a battle that you have to continuously, fight on a daily basis. But I think it is really and truly how you engage with the persons that are your co-workers, who you're around, the persons that you may manage in a project. I think it's really how you engage with them and the mutual respect that you give to them, because I work in the Studley Park. I deal with the Studley Park landfill, right, which is primarily males. The only females that you may see on the compound may be the checkers or administrative staff. So when I initially came on the landfill and I'm also very petite, so they already kind of gauge to see, okay, they kind of try to see, okay, let me see how I can, how good is she at what she does? There will be the challenges that are there, but I would say that my experience was a really good one because of how I approached my job. I think they realized that, okay, she's very serious about what she does. She's very respectful to the staff. I also do not know everything, and I also give that respect where respect is due for persons who have been working in the field for quite some time. They may not have had the institutional knowledge of theory or going to a formal education, but they do have the knowledge of how a landfill runs and how it works. And I think my approach would have been more engagement and having discussions versus coming there and implementing things that I believed would have been correct based on a book, based on theory. So actually, I would say how you deal and interact with them, you would get that respect in return. So you have to just kind of put your foot down when it comes to certain things. As I said, it's a general respect that is given, and I was lucky to have gotten it back.
Understood. Well, we're going to take a quick break right here, and then we'll continue chatting right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, see you soon.
Coming up, fets, pan, parades, soca. Yes, Carnival is in full swing. Artists from all over added their strokes to Antigua and Barbuda's canvas. A boost for these Barbadian projects through the power to make a difference. Equal servings of culture and good cheer. It's Caribbean Passport TV right here on this station.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. Rooted in connection, driven by community. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Who said the elderly can't have fun too? We're talking good food, proper music, lots of games, and a day at the beach they will never forget. From the time we left the compound at Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, the vibe was already established. Wheels up and seatbelts on. Watch now, when we touched down in Pigeon Point, everybody was ready for excitement. But before anything could take place, we had to secure bellies. You ever play bingo by the beachside? Well, that was the first activity on the roster, and boy did these seniors have fun. However, others wanted something more physical, so we brought out the ring toss, and not even arthritis could have stopped them. Well, I was blown away at how straight these people were. Are you sure this is a home for the elderly? Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, but nothing beats the song of Good Steel Pan by the shores while we take a dip in Tobago's finest water. Wait, more food again? This is my type of event. The energy was amazing and nothing short of a blessing. Pick up Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, because joy doesn't retire, laughter doesn't age, and memories like these last forever.
To a stranger.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
Strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We got beauty, we
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, if you're looking at us, then you would see that we are giving you an overhead shot of the Milford Road, downtown Scarborough. That's right in front of the Scarborough Esplanade, going all the way up to the port. And as you can see, there's a bit of a slow movement of traffic that's happening there this morning. So I guess there's still a number of you that's trying to make it into the office before 9 a.m. or just going about your business. But what I would say is that there's always an extremely beautiful view of what you can see here in Scarborough. And a reminder that we are indeed blessed to be Tobagonians and to be able to see this on a daily basis. Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I have been chatting with Jia Ibraim, and she is an environmental engineer at the Division of Health, particularly in public health. And we've been having a conversation about women getting more involved in engineering, specifically young women. But even as we round off our discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say to the women that are in or want to get into fields that are deemed male dominated?
I think you just have to be brave enough to make the decision and go into it. Surround yourself, educate yourself. I mean, the internet is at our fingertips. We constantly on social media whole day. You can utilize it to find organizations, for example, the Association of Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago. We do a lot of programs. We do a lot of mentorship. So you can find a lot more about information that is available. Reach out to persons who you know are in the field. Even if you're not aware of who is in the field, that information is also at your fingertips. So you have to do the work of getting more involved in kind of taking control of what you want to do. So if you know that this is the direction that you want to go, you can always find a mentor, speak to someone who can guide you a bit, because not everybody is going to be able to guide you. Your parents may not even know where to begin, right? So just having those mentors, which is why I also stress on persons who are already in the field to become mentors to young professionals, young persons who you may have an idea want to go into the field. So for example, when we did the presentation, 3 young ladies came up to me and I said, listen, take my information. Any questions you have, reach out to me, let me know, because they are in that critical stage where they have to decide on their subjects. Right. So I think it is important that we ourselves who are already at that level give back.
Okay. And finally, I know I said finally already, but for parents, because I think that's critical, because a lot of the times students really are unaware of what direction to take, and they lean into that guidance from their parents. My question is, would you recommend them starting at a more general level and then branching off, starting wide and then getting more pointed in terms of what they do? As you indicated, you started off with physics and then you got directly into the engineering. So do you think they should start broad to have a wide cross-section of things that they can choose from, or start off from day one in the engineering direction?
I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to know exactly what you want to do. So there are students who could tell you, somebody came up to me and he said, I want to be a software engineer. And he knew that with surety that that's what he wanted to do. But a lot of students are not aware, because you're also not exposed in detail to some of these subjects. There are students exposed to integrated science versus physics versus chemistry. So there will be situations where you may have to start off broad, and then you may realize, okay, I like this subject a lot more. Because you could think you like engineering until you actually get into the real nitty-gritty of the work that is required. I initially thought I wanted to get into chemical engineering, and then when I did chemistry at year 1 in UE, I was like, I think I want to veer a little bit from this, so sometimes that approach has to work, but you have to observe your child, and as a parent, encourage them, support them in whatever direction they want to get to, but you yourself educate yourself as well along with your child in terms of what the profession may entail as well.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here this morning, and congratulations on all the good work that you have been doing, and keep doing it and keep inspiring young women. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's conversations. We want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day.
Passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say